Jules Vaughn is one of the most emotionally complex characters in modern television because she represents a very real psychological journey that many people quietly go through, wanting to feel seen, wanting to feel safe, and wanting to feel powerful in a world that often makes you feel small. When exploring the psychology behind Jules' relationship with men, it becomes clear that she is not simply looking for romance or excitement, but for something deeper inside herself: validation, protection, freedom, and eventually a way to reclaim her identity from the shadows of fear and expectation. Jules grew up learning that the world could be cruel to anyone who did not fit into the traditional idea of what a person should be. And long before viewers meet her on screen, she has already spent years trying to mold her body, her femininity, and even her emotions into something that would make her feel accepted. Because of this, her early interactions with men become complicated mixtures of danger and reassurance, as if each man she encounters represents both a risk to her physical safety and an opportunity to feel desired in a way that confirms her womanhood. For Jules, being desired is not simply about attraction. It is a form of affirmation, a promise from the world that she is real, worthy, and allowed to exist without apology. This need for validation did not appear suddenly, and it is tied to the loneliness she felt during her childhood, where she navigated identity, self-doubt, and the pressure to prove herself to everyone around her. When she seeks attention from men online, in hotel rooms, or in passing encounters, the psychology behind these choices is not about reckless behavior but about control. Controlling how she is perceived, controlling the narrative of her femininity, and controlling the vulnerability she feels every day simply by being herself. The men Jules interacts with often hold power in a way she feels she never had growing up. They represent a hierarchy she was never part of, one that once excluded her but now seems to offer her a place, even if that place is fragile and dangerous. When a man looks at her with desire, she interprets it as proof that she belongs in womanhood, that she has crossed a threshold she once believed was locked. This validation becomes intoxicating because it gives her a sense of safety, even though it is an illusion. The danger comes from the fact that these men often want her for reasons that ignore who she is as a person. They want the fantasy, the secrecy, the thrill, and Jules learns quickly that she is stepping into roles they create, not identities she freely chooses. This is where the psychological tension begins to build inside her. She wants the affection, the praise, the warmth of being chosen, but she also knows that these situations place her body and emotions at risk. The contradiction creates a cycle where validation becomes both comforting and harmful, like a drug that calms her fears even while feeding them. This conflict is why Jules' relationship with men feels so unstable. She is constantly navigating between empowerment and vulnerability, wanting connection but needing protection, and seeking control while entering environments she cannot fully predict. Behind Jules' actions is an important emotional truth. She has spent so many years feeling judged, studied, questioned, or dismissed, that being wanted by men feels like breaking the rules of the world. It feels like taking back something that was kept from her. In her mind, if a man chooses her, it means she has succeeded in becoming the version of herself she dreamed of. The problem is that this kind of validation does not last. It fades quickly, forcing her to seek it again and again, like someone chasing a feeling they can never hold on to. That is why her interactions with men often feel rushed, impulsive, or disconnected from genuine emotional intimacy. She is not looking for love in the beginning. She is looking for confirmation that she is enough. The danger in these moments is not just physical danger from the men she meets, but emotional danger from the impact these encounters have on her sense of self. Each time she is objectified or treated as a secret, she is reminded that her value in their eyes is conditional, temporary, and fragile. It makes her question whether she is loved for who she is or simply for what she represents. And yet, she returns to these situations because they give her something nothing else does: the illusion of power, the feeling that she is desired in a way that makes her feel alive. As the story continues, something inside Jules begins to shift. She starts to see the difference between being wanted and being understood. She starts to notice how these men, no matter how affectionate or thrilling they seem, rarely take the time to truly know her fears, her dreams, her vulnerabilities. This realization becomes the foundation for her emotional transformation. When she meets someone like Rue, who sees her as a full person rather than an object of desire, her entire internal world becomes conflicted. For the first time, Jules is faced with affection that is not tied to her performance of femininity. Rue does not want her because she is a fantasy. Rue wants her because she is Jules. This kind of affection is foreign to her, and it forces her to confront the truth that she has been using men to fill emotional wounds that cannot be healed by physical encounters or whispered compliments. The safety Rue offers is emotional safety, something Jules has never known. But emotional safety can feel more terrifying than physical danger when you are someone who has built your identity around surviving chaos. Jules realizes that she cannot keep living in the unstable push and pull of validation from men. She begins to understand that her worth cannot depend on the approval of people who only see fragments of her identity. This psychological journey leads Jules to reclaim herself. She learns that femininity is not something she has to perform for men to make it real. She learns that validation from men is often unreliable and rooted in unequal power. She learns that her identity is not something that requires permission. The reclamation she goes through is not sudden. It is slow, emotional, messy, and imperfect. But it is powerful. She starts to question why she was willing to risk her safety for attention. She reflects on how she equated danger with excitement and validation with survival. She begins to understand that true empowerment comes from choosing what makes her feel whole, not what makes her feel wanted for a moment. In reclaiming her identity, Jules takes back the parts of herself she once gave away too easily. She becomes softer with herself, more protective of her heart, and more honest about what she actually needs. The men who once defined her sense of value lose their power over her. She stops chasing the feeling of being chosen and begins to choose herself. In the end, the psychology of Jules Vaughn's relationship with men reveals a story many people can relate to. The search for validation in places that offer it quickly but never safely, the temptation to confuse desire with love, and the painful but necessary journey of learning that self-worth cannot come from people who do not truly see you. Jules' story is a reminder that healing begins when you stop performing for others and start living for yourself. It is a reminder that danger is not glamorous, and that freedom is not found in being wanted, but in being understood. Her transformation shows that reclaiming your identity is not about rejecting the world, but about refusing to let the world define you. Jules Vaughn begins as someone seeking approval and ends as someone seeking truth, and that journey is what makes her psychology so powerful, so human, and so deeply emotional.